Chiriku never thought a single doubt could rearrange her entire life. She never imagined that one question, one quiet suspicion she carried in her chest, would pull her into places no woman should ever go, or reveal things no heart is built to hold. But once a truth begins to whisper, it refuses to be ignored. And the path Chiriku chose to follow, it led her into shadows she could not escape, and decisions she could never undo. This is the story of how one woman's search for answers opened a door that changed an entire village forever. Nobody starts trouble on purpose. Not at first. Chiriku certainly didn't. She simply wanted peace in her marriage, which was already wobbling by their second year. Her husband, Otieno, was the kind of man who walked like he knew women were watching. And they always were. He had that easy charm that made him laugh louder than necessary and hold other women's hands just a bit too long. Chiriku's insecurity grew quietly. It started as simple questions: who were you with? Why did you come home smelling like coconut oil? Why does Taka always greet you like she's greeting a miracle? Otieno brushed it off. People talk to me. Am I supposed to run away? One evening Chiriku followed him, keeping her distance. She saw him by the lakeside leaning close to Mojuma, a widow who always tied her wrapper a little too tightly. The two were laughing. Otieno touched her shoulder. Something in Chiriku snapped. She didn't go home. She walked straight to her grandmother's hut, an old woman who lived alone, spoke rarely, and understood things that made villagers whisper behind their hands. Chiriku knelt. I need to know who my husband is seeing. I need to see with my own eyes. The grandmother stared at her for a long time before speaking. My child, information you gather in the wrong way will gather destruction for you. What you see will change you. And once you know too much, you will never rest again. Chiriku insisted. The grandmother sighed, opened a calabash, and murmured something that sounded older than both of them. Before Chiriku could regret anything, her body shrank. Her skin tightened. Her eyes multiplied. The last thing she heard was her grandmother saying, "This gift has teeth. If you misuse it, it will bite you." Then Chiriku was a housefly. Before sending her off, the grandmother had whispered the rules of the transformation, rules passed down only to those who begged hard enough to hear them. She had to close her left eye first, then the right. She had to breathe in through her teeth, not her nose. She had to hold the breath until her ribs ached and her heartbeat shifted to the center of her forehead. Only then could she say the short phrase her grandmother taught her, a phrase that sounded like a hiccup and a cough mixed together. She had been warned, if you say it too fast, your wings will be weak. If you say it too slow, you will shrink halfway and your legs will not obey you. If you say it with anger instead of clarity, you will return with wings but no memory of what you had. And the most important rule, she could only become human again by touching the ground with 2 feet at the same time. If even one foot touched fast, she would remain half-fly for hours, sputtering and dizzy, with her voice sounding like buzzing trapped inside a bottle. These were the instructions. Simple enough to remember, dangerous enough to fear. And with those rules stitched into her mind, she began her new life. Small, winged, and far more powerful than any jealous wife should ever be allowed to be. Her first mission was simple: follow Otieno. She expected heartbreak, and she got it. Served hot, with no salt. She watched him flirt with a coat at the market. She saw him help Mojuma carry water because she's a widow. She caught him giving Taka a bracelet he pretended he found by accident. As a fly she sat on his shoulder, furious, but she couldn't scream. She couldn't confront. She couldn't even bite him. All she could do was tremble while he swatted her away like dust. When she returned to her grandmother at dawn, the old woman shook her head. You wanted truth. Did you think truth would be soft? Chiriku didn't answer. She was angry, hurt, and suddenly addicted to knowing more. But the worst discovery wasn't the flirting. It was the children. As a fly, she began noticing something strange. Too many kids in the village had Otieno's forehead. You know, that wide, stubborn forehead that looks like it enters a room before the rest of the body arrives. Some children had his exact walk, leaning forward like they were forever late. One even laughed like him, a loud, chesty laugh that made people turn around because it sounded like someone opening a stubborn door. When she followed him across the ridge to the neighboring village, she confirmed her fear. There were even more of his photocopies running around. Same forehead, same walk, same laugh, same unfortunate ears. Otieno had left fingerprints in the form of children everywhere he passed. And the worst part? Otieno wasn't just careless. He was cruel in the way careless men often are. When any of the women he had been involved with hinted at responsibility, or when a rumor started that a child looked too much like him, he would march straight to that woman's compound and deny everything with so much confidence that even the goats listened. If the woman insisted, he insulted her loudly enough for neighbors to hear. If she cried, he accused her of wanting his wife's position. If she stayed quiet, he warned her never to spread lies that break families. Chiriku watched all of this in fly form. She saw him reduce proud women to silence. She saw him threaten a widow into saying her son looked like his late uncle. She watched him throw a woman's stool outside because she dared to mention that her baby needed salt and porridge. The women never fought back. They lowered their eyes, swallowed their humiliation, and carried their children on their hips like secrets. And every time Otieno walked away from one of those scenes, Chiriku felt something inside her crack, not because she still loved him, but because she was seeing the kind of man she had tied her life to. It was not jealousy anymore. It was shame. It didn't take long before she stopped spying only on her husband. Her new form allowed her into every crack, every window, every kitchen. Her first accident happened in Mama Rihima's house. As a fly, she landed near the fire and had the daughter admitting she had sold half the cassava to buy sweets. Chiriku planted that information casually the next day. The beating that followed shook the entire neighborhood. Next, she slipped into the chief's home and discovered the chief's son had stolen a goat and blamed a neighbor. She whispered the truth to someone accidentally while pounding millet. By sunset, the neighbor was in the chief's compound throwing curses like stones. Then there was the case of the carpenter. Chiriku found out he was planning to leave his wife for a young widow from the next village. She told the wife in the tone of someone who hated to deliver bad news. The fight that broke out that night made even dogs run and hide. She spread secrets until the village began walking on eggshells. Friendships collapsed. Couples slept back to back. Wives checked their husbands' shirts for no reason. Husbands counted their goats before sleeping. And Chiriku? She felt powerful. She felt seen. For once, she was the one causing fear, not suffering it. Old Man Babu was the kind of elder whose silence carried more weight than the chief's speeches. He noticed patterns others ignored. He noticed that whenever a fight erupted, people said the same thing. Chiriku told me. One night as Chiriku, in fly form, entered his hut, he didn't panic, didn't swat, didn't even blink. He simply sat still and watched her land on his calabash. Then he said quietly, I know you're not just a fly. But if trouble is eating you from inside, go home before you burn this village to dust. Chiriku froze. He didn't trap her. He didn't call anyone. He didn't expose her. He pardoned her. She flew out quickly, shaken but stubborn. The warning didn't sink in. Chiriku's gossiping got even bolder. She entered the home of a couple who had been married peacefully for 10 years and listened to the husband confess to his brother that he once kissed a woman years ago. The next morning, she told the wife, your husband spoke of things he has never told you. That night the wife threw him out with such force he slept in the granary for 2 days. She discovered a group of young men were planning to steal a neighbor's chickens just for adventure. Instead of stopping them, she told the neighbor's wife that young boys were plotting against them. The neighbor slept outside with a machete and nearly cut a goat that passed by in the dark. She even caused a rift between two old women who had been best friends for 20 years. She told one, "I heard the other one say you take too much food at funerals." That single sentence destroyed a friendship built through births, marriages, and droughts. Chiriku didn't realize she was slowly becoming the enemy of the entire village. It happened on a night she was too comfortable. She entered Old Man Babu's house again, thinking he had forgotten. This time, he was ready. He placed a bowl of warm, sweet porridge in the middle of the hut. Every fly in the world would have landed. Chiriku was no exception. The moment her little feet touched the rim, he covered it with a pot and weighed it down with a stone. Her buzzing shook the calabash. This time he didn't release her. He called the chief. He called the elders. He called half the village. People gathered with torches, sticks, pestles, anything that made them feel brave. When he lifted the pot, smoke rose, then Chiriku appeared in human form, dusty, sweating, trembling and caught. Women gasped. Men cursed. Children clung to their mothers. Otieno, her husband, simply stepped back. The grandmother arrived last, leaning on her stick like she had been expecting this day. She looked at Chiriku and said, "A gift misused will always expose you." The elders were ready to banish her. Some wanted her fined. Some wanted her taken to the neighboring witch doctor. But her grandmother lifted her hand. "She is a fool, not a monster. If we remove her from the village, she will only do worse elsewhere. Let me put a boundary on her." Nobody argued with the old woman. She cast a spell that bound Chiriku's ability. From that day, she could no longer enter the homes of her own villagers, even as a fly. She could not repeat a secret from inside the village, even if she had it accidentally. She could not cause trouble among friends or allies. But she could fly into the villages they were not on good terms with and bring back information. And so, Chiriku became a different kind of legend. Not the gossiping nightmare she once was, but a strange, secret spy used during negotiations, disputes, and land disagreements. Whenever the neighboring community acted suspiciously, one elder would cough and say, "Where is that girl? Let her go and check for us." And Chiriku, half ashamed, half redeemed, would transform, fly off silently, and return with useful details. She never misused her gift again. Otieno eventually left her, but she didn't chase him. She no longer felt the need. She had seen too much life, too many secrets, too many human cracks. In her old age, she would sometimes sit outside in the evenings, watching ordinary flies buzz around. And she would say quietly, "Knowing everything is heavier than knowing nothing." The village never forgot her. And up to this day, when a fly lands on someone's food, people still joke. "Relax. If it's Chiriku, she's working for us now." Even now, during marriage teachings, the elders warn. A gossiping tongue harms a home. A gossiping fly destroys a village. But insecurity can burn everything without fire.